Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this time to officially now begin this webinar. My name is Chris Odongo. I'll be your host and moderator for today. Welcome to the Sandbox. The Sandbox is a home or a collective of business experts who have come together to focus on helping SMEs grow and win in business. The Sandbox was founded and started this year. It's first in the world, and it really is a place where you can find all your business experts under one roof. You can find marketing, you can find HR, you can find customer service, you can find PR, you can find audit, you can find legal, you can find branding, marketing, all up to 24 business experts who are gathered in one roof, just being able to support and to help you to build your business. So if you're running a business, I want to assure you that you are in the right place. Today's webinar is focused on helping you to think about how to build your business resilience during this time. And we are using the word resilience because it's the ability to bounce back from crises and from catastrophe that really matters. Because I was reading somewhere yesterday, a friend of mine posted on Facebook that we are always being hit by interruptions in life. Life is always happening and life is always on our case. And so it's not so much that crisis won't happen, it's how we respond to crisis. And today we are looking forward to getting actionable insights that can help you to develop a plan to successfully navigate the COVID-19 scenario. We are looking at human resource management, legal, and process. And we are joined by three of our experts based here at the Sandbox. The first expert that is based here that is going to be talking to us is Juliet Gatteri. Juliet Gatteri is a HR expert at the Sandbox and runs a company called Alternate Doors. We are also joined by Angela Kioi, who's the resident legal expert at the Sandbox, runs a company called Gadima Kioi and Company Advocates, and Rosalind Sadia, process and quality expert, running a company called Top Tier. These experts are going to be sharing with us the actionable insights that you can be able to take and use to come up with solutions to navigate the COVID-19 period. The current realities that are facing us, which we are calling emerging realities, that we will be addressing and responding to are government restrictive measures, there's social distancing, there's curfew. We anticipate that our government is trying to slowly squeeze us into our forced work from home arrangements, continuous workplace shutdowns, reduced sales and activities at workplaces. We are looking at employees going on leave. Several companies that we have been talking to are facing redundancies. There's increased exposure, vulnerable communities, frustrated contracts, a lot of uncertainty about the future, and general economic slowdown. Of course, the government has already proposed some mitigation measures, such as reduction in tax rates. People are now spending more time at home, and we are beginning to see some philanthropic initiatives and organizations are becoming more conscious about their customers and employees. These are the realities that we are living on today. I'd like to see your comments on the chat box in terms of what are your realities, what are you living with currently, so that then we can be able to begin to respond to that. So chat me up and tell me what are the realities that are emerging for you. So before we get into presentations from the experts, I'm going to just ask each one of them to introduce themselves and say something. Just 1 minute, 30 seconds. Let's start with Angela.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Hi, my name is Angela Kioi. I'm an advocate in Kenya. So I'm excited to take you through what you should think about legal considerations.
Right, thank you very much, Angela. Let's hear from Juliet Gatteri.
Hi, everyone. My name is Juliet Gatteri. I'm here to just talk about your human resource related issues during this time. And we hope we'll give you some core solutions that you can implement immediately.
All right. And last but not least, Rosalind Mutahi.
Hey, thank you for joining us. I'm Rosalind Mutai, and I'm the process and quality expert at the Sandbox. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and I really believe that this is going to be a valuable session for you. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move on into a presentation from Angela Kioi on the legal things that you want to be thinking about during this particular time. So I've stopped sharing my screen. I'm allowing Angela to load up her screen and share her thoughts. I can see Vivian is asking, how do I pay rent during COVID-19?
Okay. Excellent. Chris, can I proceed?
Yes, please, Angela, you may proceed.
Period of time. So I hope everyone can hear me. So the first thing is the effects of contracts being cancelled or being terminated or being suspended for any reason. So everybody knows about this clause called force majeure, and I have been asked so many times about what does it mean and does it apply in this situation. First, what does it mean? So force majeure is an uncontrollable event, war, labor, stoppages, global pandemics, COVID-19, yeah, but it's not at the fault of any party, but it makes it difficult or impossible to carry out normal business. So the other question that I'm asked a lot is, what if we didn't have a written agreement, or what if our written agreement did not have a force majeure? Would I still be, what would happen in that situation? So there we find that there's the common law doctrine of frustration, which operates in the same way. So in this case, basically that you are unable contractual obligations under the contract through no fault of your own. It's not your fault that you're not able to meet your obligations. So the question now would be, what happens next? So you're finding yourself in a position where you are unable to meet your contractual obligations. Either you were supposed to do something or sell something or produce something, and now it's completely impossible for you to do the same. So the effect of force majeure and frustration can be twofold. The first thing is either that the contract is terminated completely, or that it is going to be suspended. And whether or not it will be terminated or suspended really depends on a case-by-case basis, depending on what the contract is and what the obligations are. So my advice to all businesses right now is that you need to sit down and review all your contractual obligations, whether they're written or verbal, in light of the prevailing situation. We need to sit down and ask ourselves, am I going to be able to meet my obligations? Am I unable completely to meet them? Or do I foresee in the future be able to meet them? And then from there, once you have that information, you can move forward and decide the best next step for the business. Secondly, is to seek legal advice on all contracts that have been terminated or that you are considering to cancel. And the reason I say this is because you will find that people who may cancel contracts and say that it's because of force majeure, because of frustration, or because of COVID-19. But when you look at it deeper, you find that really they were able to meet, or they should be able to meet their contractual obligations. So always seek legal advice where you see a client or a supplier is seeking to terminate the contract, and find out, look deeper and see whether or not they can actually fall under force majeure or frustration, or if it's just taking advantage of the situation. One of them. Then thirdly, I'd say also seek legal advice prior to entering into any new contractual obligations, and look at current world trends to confirm you shall be able to enter into those obligations. So here, I would advise the businesses, even as you want to continue doing business, as you're looking for business continuity, as you're looking for new plans, as you're looking for different ways to make money in this kind of situation, I'd still advise you that you need to really sit down and look at whether or not you'll be able to meet those contractual obligations that you're entering into right now. So when I think about world trends, we look at, see where, looking at this is where Kenya is today, but if you can see around the world, we're seeing different countries have gone into a total, shutdown and restriction of movement of people and goods. So you need to really consider if this happens in the next month or in the next 2 months, do you see that you'll be able to meet those contractual obligations of any new contract you're entering into right now? The second thing I'd like to say about this is you now look at the role of negotiation. So most businesses shall find themselves with the need to negotiate contracts with clients and with their suppliers. And negotiation here is like a new opportunity. It will be a first step to ensure that the business is continuing or to mitigate any of the risks for cancelled or suspended contracts. So even if a contract is being terminated or is being suspended, it's still an opportunity to negotiate how that shall be handled. So I just wanted to give you a few tips on how you could handle negotiations on your own. Firstly, you need to understand what your contractual obligations were previously. You need to understand what were you supposed to do in the contract. Secondly, you need to analyze what your business shall be able to achieve during this period, or to what extent you can carry out business in the future. This is very important so that you're not promising things that you cannot achieve or fulfill. Thirdly, you need to be empathetic and understanding towards your clients and towards your suppliers. And I know I say this because we're all in the situation together, so taking advantage of one party might not be a good base for successful negotiation. You need to be able to sit down and really understand, look at the other side of the table and understand where they're coming from. And fourthly, seek and maintain a bargaining position that allows both parties to benefit. And here maybe this is what I'd say. A lot of people have even seen questions asking about what do I do with my landlord? How do I negotiate the payment of rent? I would say that you still need to sit down and you can exercise these 4 steps in sitting down to negotiate with your landlord about how you're going to pay rent. Are you going to suspend? Are you going to terminate the payment of rent? So all of this can, it's just for you to consider as you sit down to negotiate on those things. So the other query I've received a lot about is about employment and employee rights. So a lot of businesses are looking on how to effectively manage their workforce during this period. And I know that Juliet will give you more tips and Rosalind will give you more tips on the nitty-gritties of how to get productivity and how to manage your HR during this period, but I would just like to touch on a few legal issues. So the first thing is when it comes to salary reductions, for example, I caution all businesses that this cannot be done unilaterally. You need to have the written consent of your employees to reduce their pay. Where you do not have the written consent and you just do it unilaterally, it can be looked at constructive termination, which then can be actionable in court. The other question I've been asked a lot is, can I force my employees to go on leave? So leave, you've been given the 21 days in a year. That is what is permitted. You can always request your employees to take leave early as we wait for this period to end, paid leave early. So the decision as to whether you can put your employees on unpaid leave, I would also caution that this must be done with the written consent from the employees. This is always going to be a protection measure for you as the employer. You can appeal to them. I think it's a time when everybody can understand what is happening. But if this is the decision you're making to put people on unpaid leave, then you must have the written consent of the employees. A number of businesses, depending on what the current situation is, may be looking to make employees redundant. So when we talk about redundancy, we look at Section 40 of the Employment Act, which provides for the steps which you must take in order to declare an employee redundant. So this cannot just be done in that letter and be finished. So the first thing is notice. You have to issue notice to the trade union where applicable, if your employees are unionizable, to the employees who are being declared redundant and to the labor offices. You must give 1 month's notice or pay 1 month's wages in lieu of notice. You must pay the employee 15 days pay for each completed year of service, and you must observe the last in, first out rule. So once you follow all of these steps, then you're able to effectively declare your employees redundant and finalize with them. So the question now becomes, there's this chunk of money which you need to pay out. Do you have to pay it all out at the beginning? Can you pay it out periodically? So I'd say that if you come with an agreement with your employees that you'll be paying out this money over a period of time, my caution is make sure that this is a period that you will actually be able to pay that money. Do not renege on that agreement. The other thing I'd also caution all businesses is that if you choose to make employees redundant, you need to also look at the tax implications of that on your business. So in many discussions that we've been having, we've been discussing about business continuity and key man risk. So this might not be a discussion you're having right now as your business, but you may need to, it's something that you should start considering now instead of 4 months, 5 months later when it becomes relevant. So I urge all businesses to consider and look at the legal and governance structures to consider to ensure that they have business continuity. So a key man is that person who your business cannot or will struggle to succeed if they are not there. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in MSMEs and in SMEs, that key man is you. So you need to figure out what does business continuity look like if you are incapacitated, if you're on mandatory quarantine. And so all businesses at this point should now start looking at what structures are they doing to make sure that, what are their contingency plans to make sure that this business continues, even if you are not able to be there physically. I also ask businesses to look at shareholders at this particular time. A lot of businesses, I see have shareholders like their father, their mother, their friend, who now lives in a different country. Remember that in all of these, shareholders are right for your business, and shares are things which can be a transaction, but they can be passed. It's a property, it's an asset. So always sit down and ask yourself, so who are these other people who are in the business, and having them there, how does it risk my business? Does it risk if you're done running the business and you own 40% or 60% are held by other people? What does that risk do for you as the business owner? And lastly, you need to sit down and review your decision-making structures for your business, and how can you make sure that all the decisions are being made by people who have all the information that you need to have. I think the final thing is we are facing a time, I think this is unprecedented, where courts have been closed. So with the closure of courts, I don't think this means that you cannot have your disputes resolved in a different manner. So at this moment, I'd urge businesses to start looking at alternative ways to resolve their disputes. You do not have to wait for the courts to reopen for you to resolve your dispute. So one of the ways you can do this is mediation. It is possible to have online mediation, and what we would need to do is to look for a certified mediator who can take you through the mediation process online, and to seek a resolution for any disputes that you may have. And secondly is, as we discussed earlier, negotiation. And negotiation is a good first step to solve any of the disputes that you may have. I think that's it, Chris.
Thank you very much, Angela. Great presentation there. Thank you very much, participants. We have several questions. So Angela, I think I'll just give you one question before we go to Rosalind, and it has to do with financial obligations. Njoki is asking, how best can a business manage its financial obligations looking at facilities taken for business, and especially from a legal standpoint?
Okay, can you repeat the question? Sorry, Chris, I didn't get you.
Sorry, how best can a business manage its financial obligations looking at facilities taken from a business or a business from a legal standpoint? Okay,
so I would urge you, if you've taken facilities with the bank or with any other money lending organization, I would urge that this is the time to reach out to them to either restructure your loan or to negotiate on the payments. Yeah, so in this situation, there is no way you can completely renege on the payment on your payments, but you need to be able to sit down and negotiate. I know there are a lot of people who offer help with restructuring of loans and negotiation of how you're going to pay, how you're going to make those payments. So I think that's my advice would be, you need to sit down, you need to figure out, sit down with your banker, sit down with whoever was given the facility and renegotiate on that at the moment.
Sorry, thank you very much, Angela. I'm going to urge you to go to the chat box. There are several questions from different participants asking about different things. So you can respond to them there even as we listen to, I think the next person to present is Juliet, if I'm not wrong. Yes, that's Juliet with human resource management considerations. And there are several questions around that already. So Juliet, if you're ready, you can share your screen. Let me also urge our participants to put their questions in the Q&A part of the Zoom app. Put your questions in the Q&A part, because that way we can be able to answer each questions one by one. For those ones that have put their questions in the chat, we shall find them and answer them. Thank you very much. I can see that Juliet is now ready to continue with her presentation.
Okay.
Juliet, over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Let me just get, so can we see the
Yes, we can
presentation?
See, we can see the presentation, yes.
Okay. So I'll just look at a few things on the human resource. We've gotten a lot of questions regarding key issues in human resource. So one of them, which Angela has also talked about, is review of your contracts and leave. Then staff outsourcing, and then new ways of working and getting rid of non-essential services. I think right now people are more focused on a performance-based type of working instead of just having people in the office. And then recruitment, should we keep it on hold and should we keep it going? Motivation and engagement, especially in this time of uncertainty. So I think people, especially your staff, they need assurance that the business is still going on. And then how do you do business continuity planning? And then team structures and reporting, training considerations, succession planning, which also Angela has talked about, especially on the key man risk, and of course, health and safety, and what to do now. So I'll start with the review of contracts. So right now, if you have some contracts that are short-term or consultancy contracts, and you don't feel that you need them at the moment, probably you may not need to renew them at this time. And for future contracts, because of the uncertainty, maybe just consider having more of short-term contracts or people to work as consultants. I think Angela has dug deeper on terms of redundancy. So if you're declaring somebody redundant and say, for example, you don't have money now, you can actually just negotiate with them and then work out a future plan. Say, for example, the redundancy payment is 60,000. So you can say, every month I'll be paying you 10,000 for 6 months. So at least it's not a heavy burden on you as a business. So salary reductions. So we've discussed with some companies. Some have reduced salary for 3 months, 12 months. But remember, I think all employees have to consent. It's not a dictatorship. What I've seen with some companies is they'll say, if you don't accept salary reduction, you're fired. So just at this time, I think you need to be a bit more diplomatic on how you handle employee issues, because how you treat your employees now will really speak volumes afterwards, now when your business is back to normal. So you have to negotiate and give consent. Employees have to give consent. I'm sure if you discuss with them, I don't think some employees who are with you and they're there for the business, they would understand this current situation. And then in terms of the leave as well, so you can also discuss with your employees. So the 21 days, or maybe some companies have 24 or 30 days, maybe the employees can take their leave now. So that when we are back to business, we are back now fully supporting the business to grow and just cover up all this time that we've been away. And then, so some companies like in the restaurants, in the hospitality industry, employees have agreed to take unpaid leave because we don't know when the business will be back up again. So some employees have said, I'll go on unpaid leave, but when I come back, I still want my job. And then some companies in the construction industry, just to ensure there's enough social distancing and everybody has taken the 14-day quarantine, people are working in shifts. So there's a group that has taken the first initial 14 days to work, and then the other people have gone on leave, and then they'll cover now the next shift. Staff outsourcing. So right now, I think companies are focusing on working smart and reducing costs. So especially when you have a full-time employee, you have to there's payee complications, there's benefits, and there's terminal dues if you fire somebody. But in staff outsourcing, you only pay for what you want. Let's say, for example, today you're doing, especially for factories, let's say in 1 month, that's when our production is highest. So you take a number of employees, they're managed by another person who has that headache. And then after that production month of 1 month, then you don't really need them again. So now it's now phase 2, where you now focus more on the sales side. So some companies are working very smart just to ensure there's no complications, and you only pay for what you need. And then keeping staff engaged and motivated at this time. I think right now, communication is very important to your staff members. So don't sugarcoat anything, even if you're in the essential services list. I think it's not business as usual. So you also need to communicate and don't create panic. I think traditionally how businesses run is there's one person. If it's a one-man show, this person is the one that dictates everything that needs to be done. So make sure you also discuss with your employees, and they can also give you feedback because they also know what has been going on and they understand the business more. So just to make sure the company continues as usual, continue having meetings and even celebrate birthdays, just having those activities that employees will be engaged. Because right now people are at home. It might sound very exciting, but it's not. I think you've been home for, let's say, 2 weeks now. I think everybody has experienced that it is not as rosy as it seems. And then make sure you support your staff members with essentials. I know people are firing people and people are being declared redundant, but you can still support your employees, especially the people who are working as casuals, because for them, they depend on that one day pay. So if you can support them in kind or cash, even if they can come to work, even if it's a half a day, I think that would be something that would go a bit further for them when they come back. And then also understand your employee circumstances. So some have children, so there's a lot of distraction at home, and there's also interruptions with electricity. So we don't live in an ideal world. So it's better also to understand your employees. And then don't micromanage. I know most, especially small businesses, you want to get value for your money. So you're always WhatsApping them, tell me where you are. Don't micromanage. There's a deliverable list. I think Rosalind will also dig deeper on this. So if you have deliverables that you need to be delivered, so it's just up to you to ask, where are my deliverables? So don't do a lot of micromanaging. I think, like I said before, you renegotiate the terms, do not dictate. And then I think now we've been in quarantine for 14 days, I think. So we've gotten used to new ways of working, and you've even discovered there's some things that are not as essential as you thought. So I think now working from home will be something very normal. So even for companies. So even maybe instead of taking such a big office space, you might even reduce it to maybe a smaller space where you just hold meetings, and the other things can be done from home as long as the deliverables are done. I think this is the time, since you're very free and available, think of new ways of doing your own business, even if it's a business that really requires a lot of engagement or a lot of people to be around. I think you can come up with innovative ways of doing that business. So you can, I think, we can pick best case practices. I think now everybody is online, people are sharing things online. So you can always pick best case practices on how to come up with the new ways of doing your business. Of course, reduce your brick and mortar. So if you can renegotiate your terms, or even maybe you can check what you may not need in the office. Maybe if you've taken a bigger space, maybe it's time for you to reduce. Some of the non-essential services that we might see that will not be required are administrative type of roles. So like, let's say front office staff, if I'm the HR person who does leave management. So those type of things will be done away with. So companies would be more focused on output-based and strategic type of roles. So if you're there to add value to the company, either to go and get new customers, or you're there to make us more efficient. So those are the type of roles that are going to be more core for businesses. And then I think most of the jobs now will be gig-based. So let's say if somebody who has been in your organization for, let's say 3 years, 3 years, they can work for you on a part-time basis. And it's an opportunity also for them to have more than one job. So I can have one job working for you in your business, and then I can do another job, because right now I'm not tied to sit down in your office. I'm only tied to give my deliverables and output. And then performance will be based on output and deliverables. So make sure you have a clear output and deliverables. That's why I'm saying, like something like a receptionist, it's based on the number of walk-ins that are coming in the office. So right now, let's say if it's a salesperson, you have to just make it clear to them. These are the number of meetings. This is the number of closes. These are the number of clients that I need. So it has to be very simple and clear. And then some of the jobs probably you'll need to look at and then enlarge them. So instead of having two people doing the different type of roles, you can combine and one person can do that role. And then communicate to staff that salary increments and bonuses are on hold. I think this year it's going to be very tough, but you have to communicate early, because I'm sure some staff are used to having salary increases maybe after 2 years or 1 year, and this is the time they're expecting it. On the recruitment side, I think most companies have put the recruitment on hold, but I feel this is the right time and you have the opportunity to do the recruitment. You don't need to hire. So what you do, you just keep going. Keep going, meet candidates, because people now are available. So you can make sure you have as many interviews as possible. You can do as many tests and assessments as possible, just to make sure you have the right candidate. And then always be in the lookout for talent, especially now there's a big supply, because most companies have already done the redundancies, some have terminated. So you can always, this is your time to always look for talent. And then consider working with experts who deliver as per requirements. So instead of working with, expecting somebody who has a 1-year experience to deliver something that can be delivered in 1 hour by an expert who's been there for 12 years. So it's easier for you to pay for that 1 hour than to have that learning curve with the person who has been in the market for 1 year. So just consider working with experts who know what they're doing. Training and succession planning. So there are many organizations who have put, even Ivy League schools, they put their trainings and their content online, and it's free now. So you can even create a calendar. This is part of the engagement activities you can do with your staff members. So where the employees, you can even create a timetable. So every Wednesday is when we do learning. So all of us are learning from, let's say from Harvard. They've given us a free course on how to increase our sales. So those are the things you can continue doing and keep learning, things that you would not have easily done when this situation was not there. And then you can also have a peer-to-peer training. So this is part of succession planning. So like Angela has talked about the key man risk. So this person, maybe you can assign 1 or 2 people who can be able to learn a few things from them, just to make sure there's no gap when this person leaves, or maybe they're in quarantine or something happens to them, the business continues. And then also right now, I think there's such a big supply of talent in the market. So it's either graduates or people who've been in the work industry for some time. Some people can even volunteer to work for you for free. You can have graduates and interns to do those non-essential services, or even take up some of the work that are a bit task-oriented. So health and safety considerations. So of course, I think right now people are clean as they've ever been. So I think the health and safety standards, just continue having them in place. So at least it needs to be something that is a normal. So it's a norm. So don't stop. Let's say, for example, we are told 20th of April, we are back to work. The standards that you've put in place right now should always continue. And then include written materials, and it should be an ongoing training, because we don't know whether this thing will come back or it will disappear. So we just have to make sure this is now our normal ongoing activities. So if your company also has travel activities, so ensure also the team members who travel, when they come back, they're quarantined and they're tested. So at least they don't come back and they can be a risk to the other staff members in your office. So right now, in conclusion, what to do as an employer, talk to your employees on how to move forward, have scenario-based plans. For example, what might happen for the next maybe 6 to 12 months, have a recovery plan. Don't be in a panic, just have a scenario-based situation. So plan A, if we go back to work. Plan B, if we are quarantined for another 3 months. Plan C, if no clients come back. So just have different scenarios and see how you can innovate and work around this type of scenarios. And then look at having new business lines and making your business lean and more efficient. And then prepare for a fight. I know some of the training materials, they say, we promise times 10 growth. So right now, prepare for a fight of times 20 growth. So at least what the time you have now, you can prepare for you to grow 20 times. And for the employee, if you're an employee, make sure you upgrade your skills. Don't just sit at home and wait and panic. So upgrade your skills, because some of the skills will be obsolete and some of the skills will be in high demand. So make sure the skills that you get at this moment are the ones that will be in high demand. And then also for you as an employee, make sure you have a scenario-based plan. So what if I go on unpaid leave? What if I'm declared redundant? So just have different scenarios and plan around this. And then also look at ways on how you can be available asset, because right now, employers are looking at people who can cooperate and people who are with the business. So people who are a bit selfish, who don't want to go and leave, it may not happen right now, but you'll be a risk to the business, and somehow your employer might kick you out eventually. Then of course, reorganize your finances and don't blame your employer if you're not offering solutions. I think a lot of employees are complaining, especially if salaries are cut or costs are reduced. So I think this is not the time to blame, but it's the time to offer solutions. So I think, Chris, that's the end of my presentation, unless I have any questions.
Thank you. You have several questions on the, thank you, Juliet. You have several questions on the chat. I think the one that I saw that was standing out was, how do I communicate to my employees? But I do think you covered that on your presentation in terms of just how to communicate. So I'll urge you to go to the chat and to the open questions and find which questions you can answer on HR. Our participants, let me remind you that questions are best put under the Q&A tab, which is at the bottom of your screen. And on the chat, you can also be able to just tell us what you think about the webinar so far. Is it adding value to you? Is it useful? We have more than 60 participants online. Let me take this opportunity again to thank you for taking time away from your business to come and just listen to the village experts. Once again, the sandbox is the place where there's a formula for helping you grow your business. In Africa, we say it takes a village to raise a child. At the sandbox, we are saying it takes a village to raise an entrepreneur and to raise a successful business. Our next presenter is Roslyn Mutahi, who is our process expert. She runs a company called Top Tier. So if you're looking to be able to document your processes and have what is called an operational manual that can be able to guarantee you consistent results and consistent quality every single time, then you want to be talking to Roslyn. So Roslyn, if you can put up your screen, you are ready to go. Yeah, so as Roslyn puts up her screen, yes, I can see she's ready to go. And Roslyn, I hand over the mic to you.
Thanks, Chris. And thanks everyone for being here this afternoon. I'm just gonna jump right into it. And things to think about from a legal and HR perspective, and I trust that you're finding this very useful. So we'll just jump right into what do you think, what do you do about process and quality now as you wait to see how this pans out. So several things. The first things that you can do immediately is you remember that you have people working from home, perhaps that you have people working from home and that you're working from home yourself. So have clear goals about what you want to achieve in this period. And why it's important to be certain, instead of micromanaging, as Juliet had said, you'd be focusing on how do we get results? First of all, for the business, and then first of all for your clients, and then for the business as well. So be clear, have clear expectations and clear goals for yourself. What do you want to accomplish daily? What do you expect your team to accomplish? And then what can your business reasonably do in this time? Okay, then build a schedule for work. And why it's important to do this is that it's when you go home and when you're not certain whether your business premise itself is not open, you may think we are not at work, but the reality is that we encourage you to keep working as far as you're able to work. So if you're able to have meetings with clients online, if you're able to talk to suppliers where suppliers are in your purview of work, just keep on doing the things that you're doing as though your business was running normally. Because the reality of this crisis is that in as much as we do not know how long it'll last, it will pass. And you want to be certain that you have a schedule of work that keeps going if that's possible. So rather than have a checklist, and this is one suggestion we have, slot activities into your calendar so that you block out time to actually do work. I found that this is very useful because then it trains you to say that between 2 and 3 o'clock, I will attend the Sandbox webinar. And then at 4 o'clock, I will work on a certain thing. So you have specific tasks that are slotted into your calendar, and it helps you to achieve your goals consistently. And then because you have people working from home and your team is away from you, from the physical office that you've been used to, have regular check-ins. So you can do that in several ways. And one of the ways we propose is have a daily huddle. And at your huddle, you're just basically checking, how is work going? Have we met our goals? Are we on track to do the things that we have committed to do for our clients and for the business? So just have regular check-ins with your staff and make sure this is particularly important because I've realized that a lot of people like the work environment, like to come to work because there's social interaction. That's important for your employees as well. So this huddle, while it helps you to check on work, it also helps your team and your people to keep in touch with one another, which is very important in this period when there's distancing and there's isolation, because in a sense, physical isolation, because you're not in the same work environment. So have regular check-ins, and then adapt to tools that can help you to continue to serve your customers. So one of the things, typically what we would have had today would have been what we call the Sandbox and open day between 2 and 4 o'clock. Now our open day is happening right now online. So it's very important then that you are able to adapt so that you can continue to serve your customers, because remember, this situation, like every other situation or circumstance, will come to an end. It may take 3 weeks, it could take 3 months, it could take 6 months, but the reality is that it will pass. So be in a space where you are adapting, that you're continually in contact with your customers. And then finally, also adapt immediately to tools that can help you structure how you work. So for your people, get them online, get them on Hangouts Meet, get them on other tools that are available in our community and online, to just make sure that the work continues to run. And then make sure that you have a way that you can repeat work and trace the actions that people are taking. So if this takes the form of having a report that your people provide to you, so that you know what exactly has been accomplished in that day, document or record the things that have been done by your people and that have been done by yourself, so that you have a traceability on the work that you're actually doing. So those are things that you can take to immediately actions you can take to immediately adjust to the work environment that we're in right now. And I'm certain that a lot of us are already doing these things. So this is just a quick reminder to keep doing the things that you're doing. Remember, this situation, like any, will pass. If you consider taking a longer term view, what you need to think about where process is concerned is that very important that as a business owner or as an individual, that you take an assessment of your current situation and plan for what's coming. And I think we've already talked about this. Angela has touched on it, and as has Juliet, that you must assess what's happening right now and then plan for what's coming. So we've spoken to a number of people who are thinking, who are already thinking, how do I keep paying salaries in the next 3 months? I may not be having as much revenue coming in. I may not have as much revenue coming in as I have in the past 3 months or in the past 1 month. How do I make sure that I can still meet my obligations? So those are the things that you need to think about. Think about the obligations. For example, if you think about the finances, what immediate obligations do you have to pay? You will naturally, unless your people go on leave, and even if you put, whether or not they go on leave, you need to meet the payments that are due to your employees. So what obligations do you have? Weigh that against what revenues or what cash flows do you see coming in? How do they match up? What plans do you need to make to ensure that those two match up? I know that there've been some, the government has taken some measures around asking your bank to negotiate, not listing you on CRB and all of those things. Take advantage of everything that you can at this time. Just plan as though the worst were to happen, because then if it does, then you're ready. If it does not, then you're even more ready to handle a situation like this in the future. And that's really the idea around process. That process helps you to think about, how do I make sure that this business is sustainable in the long term? So just very important that you assess your current situation and plan for scenarios. And if you plan for the worst case scenario and it doesn't happen, then you are really in a good place about ensuring business continuity in the future, not just past COVID-19, but even beyond it for this decade and as we go forward, that you can truly build a business that will live more than just your generation. So assess and plan for the future. And then also review how you currently do work. We've mentioned that you need to adapt to tools that are available online, that you need to adapt how you're working, how you serve customers. So think about, this is a good opportunity to think about how you're currently working and figure out whether there could be some efficiencies you could gain by working remotely. It could be that people spend less time traveling to work. Already now people spend less time traveling to work. So in the future, is this something that you want to keep doing in your business, that you allow flexible working hours so that people, when they're most productive, produce for the business and then come to work at a time when they're not sitting in traffic and they're not spending a lot of travel time, so that they are more productive. So just think through, how are we currently working? Is it the best way? Are there ways we can improve? How can we, and then make sure, very important, that you very quickly adapt how you're working today to include working remotely. And the next thing that you should consider in line with reviewing how you currently work is standardize how you work. And the reason you want to standardize is because you want to be able to serve your customers in a consistent way, so that whether Rosalind does the task, or whether Angela does the task, or Chris does the task for a customer, that it will be done in a way that is consistent, in a way that the customer has come to expect from you. So this is a good opportunity for you to look at how you are working and try to find more efficient ways of working from a process standpoint, and then work that into the way that you do business on a regular basis. So where you can gain look at this time as a way of not just gaining efficiency, but also saving money and time for your business, because you will need it, not just now, but in the future as we come out of this current crisis. So very important, standardize. Remember that if you have more than one way of doing the same job, you have an opportunity to gain some efficiency. So look at that. And finally, where it is possible, automate processes. So some of our clients are asking, how will I make sure that I keep paying my statutories to KRA? How will I make sure that we sort out NSSF and we sort out NHIF? Because today they are doing those tasks. Somebody actually physically does the task. So it's a good opportunity to also look at how are we doing? How are we doing what we're doing? Is there an opportunity to automate this? For example, with my bank. So talk to your bank and say, okay, look, I need for you guys to remit my statutories. How do I do that? How do you make it possible for me to do that in a way that saves time for me and saves money for me? And so remember, even as you're doing this, negotiate with your service providers so that you're able to do this efficiently and effectively, and in a way that makes you save as much as you can. So look at this time as an opportunity, as a time where you can gain efficiencies, where you can improve how you're doing what you're doing. Think about how you can standardize what you're doing. And very importantly, after you standardize and automate processes, if you make any changes, document. So spend time now documenting the things that you are able to create sustainability, you're able to create continuity, and you're able to create consistency. So very important that you use this time well. You may have some time on your hands, so think about working on your business now, in anticipation of what's coming, in anticipation of when things, in a sense, when this crisis passes. So if you want to read more about process and how you can work on processes, you will get this slide, so you will be able to go onto that link and just think about and have an opportunity to look at some of the things that you can do in this time to take full advantage of the situation that we find ourselves in globally. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you very much, Rosalind. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 3 minutes to the end of our webinar for today. And I'd like just to remind you that you are attending a webinar that is being brought to you by the Sandbox, a collective of business experts who have assembled together to just help you do your business and do them well. We have several questions on the question and answer tab, and I'm going to ask the experts to just roll in there and respond to those questions. We will not be able to respond to those questions on the webinar because our time is running out. But please stay connected, Sabina. Stay connected, Grace. Your questions are going to be answered by the experts, even as we wrap up the seminar. I'd like to now just take the last few minutes to share with us the way forward in terms of what can the Sandbox do for you, for your business. And the Sandbox is currently offering we'll continue with these webinars every week on Friday at the same time at 2 o'clock. We'll be having these webinars and we'll be bringing all our experts. So next week we are having tax and finance experts coming to this same spot, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And they'll be talking about probably the same thing about just how to navigate the current COVID crisis. We'll be curating more webinars and we'll be inviting you. So stay in touch. Visit our website, SNDBX.ke, and subscribe to our newsletter so that you can be able to hear when our webinars are coming. We are also going to have one-on-one coaching sessions with different experts. Please send us an email at karibu@sandbox.ke to book a coaching session with an expert. You can also engage an expert one-on-one, expert consulting, and we can also help you with strategy and planning on how to survive during this COVID. Please look out on our social media pages. We shall be releasing next week a planning worksheet that you can use together with your teams to plan for how to survive the COVID-19 times. We also have our contacts right there on the screen. You can email us at karibu@sandbox.ke or visit our website. You can also log on to our Facebook page and engage with us. Our telephone numbers are also on your screen. Let me also take this one last minute to acknowledge all the people who have joined us on Facebook Live. We have had more than 30 16 people on Facebook Live joining us, and we want to appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you also for all the participants who have joined us on Zoom. Once again, thank you. Your questions are going to be answered even as we end this particular webinar. It's 3:01 p.m. Before you go, please hit me on the chat and just tell me how you have, whether you've enjoyed the webinar, what you have learned, what your key takeaway is. Yeah. And let me just give our panelists 1 minute each to just say kwaheri and to give you their closing remarks. And I'm going to invite Angela Kioi to start us off with the closing remarks. Angela, over to you.
Okay, I think what I would like to tell everybody who came, first of all, thank you so much for coming in. It was really, for logging in and for listening to what we're saying. It was really amazing to look through the chat and answer some of the questions. So as we proceed, I think I just urge everybody to be safe, keep looking for opportunities. I think they will be there. And yeah, so, and thank you so much once again for logging in. Thank you.
Let me invite Juliet to give her closing remarks. Juliet?
Okay, thank you for joining us. I think we've also learned a lot by the questions that you are posing back to us. So we'll make sure we answer all the questions and reach out to us on the email, and we can keep on talking regarding the issues that we have discussed. Thank you for joining us. And
finally, Rosalind, closing remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. I really enjoyed this session, and I hope it was beneficial, and we are really excited that you are able to take the time to be with us. So yeah, thank you again. Have a good weekend.
And again, also from me, I've been your host. My name is Chris Odongo. Just remember that at the Sandbox, you have the village formula, more than 25 business experts gathered together to help you grow your business, be it marketing, legal, customer service, PR, branding. You think about it, we probably have it. Thank you very much. As I said, hit me up on the chat box and tell me how you liked the webinar, and see you next Friday at 2 p.m. where we'll be covering tax and finance. Thank you and adios.
Chris, is he still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that we need to answer.
Yes, so you can answer the questions on the Q&A portal. Yeah, you can answer the questions on the Q&A portal.